I consider myself a creative person. I don't know about you, but I meet a lot of people who are interested in creative fields, who want to work creatively and who want to pursue those things. But does pursuing the arts, creative fields, make you a creative personality? Recently, I've picked up Creativity, the Psychology of Discovery and Invention. First of all, it is a very interesting read if you're in any shape or form interested in creativity, and highly recommend it to anybody who is curious about creativity as a concept. Currently, I'm reading through this book like pretty much every morning. I try to read a couple of pages, and so far the chapter that is really standing out to me is chapter 3, talking about creative personalities. It just deeply resonated with me and gave me a whole new perspective on how I function in the world and the people around me. But not to jump ahead, what is this book actually about? The author,
Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi,
set out to understand creativity, and that is creativity with a capital C. As the author put it, a process by which a symbolic domain in the culture is changed. New songs, new ideas, new machines are what creativity is about. As a point of reference, this book was first published in 1996, and most of the work involved in it happened between 1990 and 1995. To understand this topic, he conducted interviews with nearly 100 exceptional individuals that were selected by 3 main criteria. The person must have made a difference to a major domain of culture, one of the sciences, the arts, business, government, or human well-being in general. They had to still be active in the field, or a different one, and they had to be at least 60 years old. With this list of people, he covered many fields. Unfortunately for me, there's no filmmaker per se involved, only 2 television executives. With the individuals selected, he conducted a series of interviews to understand their process, their personalities, the environment they work in, and everything that led to them doing exceptional contributions to their field. As Mihaly
Csikszentmihalyi
puts it, creative people are complex. By this I mean that they show tendencies of thought and action that in most people are segregated. They contain contradictory extremes. Instead of being an individual, each of them is a multitude. Like the color white, that includes all the colors in the spectrum, they tend to bring together the entire range of human possibilities within themselves. He talks about creative personality traits as 10 dimensions of complexity. I found myself confirmed in these personality traits because I don't like to talk in absolute terms. Whenever I make a statement, I usually immediately think of a counter-argument or a reason why this is not true. So I'm always ping-ponging back and forth in my head to what is actually true, or what is my opinion, or how do I feel about something. Now, I'm not trying to say that I've heavily contributed to a field of anything, but maybe till I'm 60, I've made something that is worth talking about. So I simply felt affirmed in my own personality that is always shifting and heavily depends on my surroundings, my environment, and the people that I'm with. Now let's look at these 10 dimensions of complexity. Creative personalities have a great deal of physical energy, but are also often quiet and at rest. They tend to be smart, yet also naive. They're playful, yet responsible, imaginative, yet realistic. They're extroverts and introverts, humble and proud. They don't follow classic gender stereotypes. They're rebellious and independent, yet believe in rules. They're passionate and objective about their own work and the work of others, and they experience a great deal of suffering and enjoyment. I'm really curious if any of this rings true to you. I definitely see myself in these 10 dimensions of complexity. Now, when it comes to physical energy and also being quite at rest, I've heard many times that I tend to have a very calming energy, and some people really enjoy spending time with me because of that. On the other hand, my brain is always on fire. It's always thinking and always going, and I might not have the most physical energy and let's go get it attitude, but I do have great endurance and stamina if need be. I think the people I work with would agree that I'm a smart person, but there is definitely a naivete to everything that I do. I love looking at things from a new perspective, or knowing that I don't know anything. Sometimes you just gotta walk into a situation and see what happens without really knowing I think that's how this relates to my personality. I think being playful is very important to me, but also responsibility. Those are two core principles of mine, I think, actually. Playing games, having fun, throwing out new ideas, I think is something that is very essential to any creative process. And responsibility is the other side of that. It is necessary for any projects to function, to make anything happen. I gotta hold myself responsible, and I like to work with people who are responsible themselves. But always with a little fun in mind and not taking things too serious. They're also imaginative yet realistic. And this is something that is a part of everyday filmmaking for me. Whenever there's an idea, a concept, I just want to run wild and throw out ideas and make things happen. Yet immediately my brain is like, budget, time, location, logistics, who do you need to involve in this? And just like listing all the organizational things that need to happen for this to be successful or even be possible. Yeah, this is just a constant balance in myself, dealing with all the ideas that come to me, but also how do you turn them into something real? I myself consider myself definitely more introverted, but under the right circumstances, I'm very talkative. I enjoy the company of people. It gives me energy, but under the right circumstances. Most of the time I like to be by myself, or sometimes I even hate humanity and want to crawl back into my cave and not talk to anybody. They're humble and proud. That is something that is a little bit more difficult for me. I'm certainly humble.
The most humble list.
I have no idea how to accept compliments or praise. It's something I always struggle with, and I just tend to refer to the people who helped me achieve something. And pride is something that I mostly feel about other people. It is when other people achieve something that I had an inkling of influence in, is when I feel pride. About my own work, the highest of the emotion usually is like, it's okay. But that is something that I continue to work on. They don't follow classic gender stereotypes. Not really sure where I fall on that spectrum. I'm certainly show tendencies one way or another, but that is a point that maybe outsiders can answer better. I think we all go through phases of rebelling. I know I very much value my independence. I've been known to have issues with authorities sometimes, at least when I know I have the upper hand in an argument. But over time, that tendency maybe mellowed out a little bit. And I've certainly learned to love rules or guidelines or systems. I think that's a really good way to frame it for me. Without those rules or systems, things just fall apart very quickly. And I certainly enjoy my own little world that I created in a rule set. I'm certainly passionate about any idea that comes to me, and I would love to bring all of them forth and make them reality in this world. I also tend to, whenever I work on something, to take a lot of distance from it. I like to take a break from it and not look at the footage right away. Just to get more neutrality from it, to divorce myself from the emotions or the circumstances of production and just look at it for what it is. Like I said before, on an emotional level, I tend to view my own projects as okay. But I do know when a project is good and when it is worth showing. Now, when it comes to emotions, I tend to limit my expression to the outsides. I tend to stay quite neutral and control my emotions. I don't really know why I do that, but maybe it is because the deep well of emotional potential inside of me. So those are the 10 dimensions of complexity. I'm really curious what you think about those and where you find yourself in that. And is one of them more true to the other? Do you think that statement is completely wrong, that everybody has the spectrum of emotions? Or is this really a core principle of creative personalities? So yeah, let me know what you think. I would love to read about your opinion. Do you maybe think that something is completely outdated, or maybe all of this is true for everybody? I'm very curious. Just circling back to the book itself, it is a very dense book. It's a very scientific look at creativity. It's also very interesting to read books that are not current, that have 30 years or so on them. But it's something I want to explore. I do want to look into the view on creativity over time and how our mindset has shifted to that. Because I think that's a very important aspect of this all, that I think right now our society has a very different view on creativity as a whole and as a buzzword than it did in the 80s and 90s and all the times before. And it is a topic that I definitely want to explore more. That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, or maybe it just made you think about something. If you've been on the internet long enough, you know what to do with the buttons down below. And I look forward to the next one. The psychology and discovery, no. Creativity, the psychology of discovery and invention. He talks about creative personality traits as 10 dimensions of complexity. I don't know why he calls it dimensions. I find it hard to remember. I just want to say 10 points of complexity, but it's 10 dimensions of complexity.